So I want you guys to be free. That's what this whole series is about. We want you guys to be free, not only, from school, not only from, peer pressure, things like that, but we want you to be free. And tonight we want you to be free from social media. Now, I don't mean delete social media, because it's not wrong to have social media. But what I mean is I want you guys to be free from the things, the negative consequences, maybe some addictions that come with having social media. And just some transparency in my life. I am known to be addicted to my phone. I'm known to be super addicted to social media. I can scroll through Instagram for like hours looking at just different things because it's what I like to do kind of. One of my hobbies is social media. I'm big on Twitter. I love YouTube. Like I don't have like any followers on anything, but I just love using it. But it's something in my life that I've noticed to be an issue. And so I'm going to just be a little transparent here, show you guys. If you guys have an iPhone, you guys can see screen time and how much do you use your phone. But today, it is a Saturday. It's 12:16 right now, and I have been on my phone for, basically by noon, I've been on my phone for an hour and 8 minutes. But that might seem like a lot. It might seem like, geez, he's never on his phone. But this is an hour and 24 minutes below my daily average. So I'm doing good. I'm doing better. But it's something that I've personally struggled with. Now, here are 3 ways to know if you're like me. 3 ways to know if you are easily addicted to social media or addicted to your phone. Number 1, if you go to the bathroom without your phone, you forget what you're supposed to do. And I don't mean obviously you're supposed to poop or pee. You gotta do that. That's just gonna naturally come up. I'm talking about you don't know what to do while you're in there. This happens to me sometimes. A couple of weeks ago, I forgot my phone. I went into the bathroom, sat down on the toilet, and I was like, what did we do before? What am I supposed to do with my hands? And I was like, I just don't know what to do. It's super weird. And I felt like, I just got to get out of here because I don't know what to do. But number 2, if you sleep with your phone. Now, so many of us do this, right? We put our phone right under our pillow or right next to us as we sleep. And I'm not talking about on your end table. I'm talking about in the bed with you, which is a weird thing. But we want to know if our phone vibrates, if we get a notification, if somebody likes something on Instagram. And number 3, if we feel naked without our phones. Now, I've done this so many times. If you're a guy and you forget your wallet, it feels super weird. But I've done this with my phone where it's oh crap, I'm at Walmart or I'm at Menards. I'm I don't have my phone. What am I going to do? Am I supposed to just walk in, get what I need, and walk out? No. I need to scroll through something while I'm walking, right? I feel naked without it. What if somebody calls? What if somebody dies? What if something happens? It's not going to happen. It's okay to forget your phone. But even though, some of us might be more addicted to social media than others, it's safe to say that the majority of us probably struggle with being too addicted to our phones or being too addicted to social media in some capacity. Now, here's 2 stats that show this addiction in our lives. 80% of teenagers sleep with their phones. So you guys, 80% of you guys, 8 out of 10 of you guys in the room sleep with your phone in your bed with you. Now, if you don't have your phone, if you're in middle school or you're in 6th grade, you're I don't have a phone, my parents don't give me one yet. This doesn't apply to you, but you probably have an iPad. So it might. But 84% of people say they can't go 1 day without their phone. Now that's crazy to me. Because if somebody came up to me and was Justin, I challenge you to go 1 day without your phone, I could absolutely do it. Not a problem for me. Even though I love, social media, YouTube, I love it too. I could do it, I think. But I could do it, right? But 84% of people say they can't do it. Now that shows us that we have a real problem. And there's actually a phobia with this. It's nomophobia. That's the fear of being away from your phone. Now, we want you guys to be free. And obviously, there's nothing wrong with having a phone. There's nothing wrong with having social media. But a lot of times, there are negative consequences that come with those. Now, I want to ask you guys a question. How many of you guys are in sports? Just raise your hand. How many of you guys are in sports? Okay, so if you raise your hand, how many of you guys that raise your hands, how many of you guys, you get home from practice and you immediately start practicing again? Okay, none of you. Maybe some of you guys are at our other campuses, but none of you guys. Why? Because your body needs to rest. I remember when I was in 8th grade, I so desperately wanted to be called up from the middle school team to like JV or varsity when it came to baseball. I was passionate about baseball. I wanted to be like that middle schooler, like that young guy that was like starting on varsity already. So I practiced every day. You know, I would go to practice after school 3 hours a day. I would go home, eat dinner, and I would go into my garage and I would just hit baseballs into my net for like an hour and a half every night. And I remember going to my coach, like I wanted to be like that suck up, right? Who goes to their coach, like, Coach, I practiced at home. But I went up to my coach, like, Coach, I've really been practicing on my hitting. I've been working on it because hitting was my downfall. Terrible. So I told him I was practicing. He said, I thought he was going to be proud, but he said, Justin, what are you doing? I was like, well, what do you mean? I thought you were going to be proud of me. I'm practicing, right? He's like, no, you're not going to get any better if you don't rest. And it clicked. Like, that made sense. I'm a young kid. I'm growing. My body needs to rest. If all I'm doing is constantly working out, constantly practicing, I'm never actually going to get any better because my body's going to be constantly tired. My mind is going to be constantly tired. And this is what it's like with social media. Right? We go to school. We learn so much stuff, hopefully. When we go to school, we have all this information just being thrown at us all day long. We go to the lunchroom, like we're talking with our friends. There's new stuff there. There's drama we're learning about. More information, right? We go home. We have to do our homework, and that's just more and more information. And in the meantime, we're going on social media. We're using our phones, and that is keeping our brain constantly active, making us feel like we are constantly connected. And that's a dangerous thing for our brains because our brains need rest. But more than that, our souls need rest as well. If you're sick of feeling constantly stressed, constantly exhausted, or overwhelmed, or just that feeling of being constantly connected, if you're sick of that, it's because you're not resting. Now, there's a famous verse in the book of Psalms that you can usually find on KTIS or your mom's coffee cup. It gets kind of nerdy. But it's this verse that's so crucial to understanding who God is and the life that we're supposed to live, that if we want to live in freedom, we need to live by Psalm 46, verse 10. It says this. It says, "Be still and know that I am God." One of the commands by God to us, his dearly loved children, is that we be still. And we cannot do that if we're constantly on our phones, if we're constantly on social media. Why? Because our brains are trying to connect all the time. That even like scientifically, like the blue light from your phone keeps your brain awake. And even if we're just checking it every now and then, our brain is thinking that it's supposed to be awake and alert and doing something. And so our brain gets confused, and it feels like it constantly has to be connected. But even that, our souls feel like we have to constantly be connected. One of the biggest dangers of so much social media, like if we're not resting or if we're always on social media, one of the biggest dangers is that we compare ourselves to everyone else. And that keeps our soul from having any contentment. It keeps our soul from finding any rest because we feel like we have to constantly compare ourselves to other people. One of the biggest dangers with Instagram is that you're sitting at home, you're sitting in bed, just laying down, scrolling through, and you're in your, the same boxers. You haven't changed in like 4 days. You haven't brushed your teeth in like 3 days. Like you're just feeling lazy. And then you scroll through social media and you see everybody else is like out at a party, or they're taking like this perfect candid shot in the sunflower field down in Isanti. And they just look so pretty and just look so sublime. It's just so amazing. And it's like, what is my life compared to that? Right? It's so stupid. It's so simple, but it's like, this is what we do. We compare our downtime to somebody else's highlight reel, and that's so unhealthy for us spiritually. We need to shut it off and rest. God calls us, he says, be still and know that I am God. Now that be still portion of the verse, it isn't just like, be still, sit down, do nothing. Stare at that wall and do nothing. That's not what God is saying. I mean, it's not bad to just sit down and do nothing sometimes, but God is saying, be still and know that I am God. It's not just sit down and do nothing. It's do nothing, but know that I am God. And so what God is trying to teach us through this verse is that he is a God of rest. There are so many things in this world that try to keep us connected, and social media is one of the biggest ones. And if we're constantly trying to connect with other people through social media, we're never going to be able to rest. But God says, be still and know that I'm God. Know that I am a God of rest. And the main meaning, the depth of that message is that God's rest is not just physical rest. God's rest is spiritual rest. He can give us rest from our sins. He can give us rest from the consequences of our sins. He can give us freedom and the opportunity to live in freedom from those things. God is a God of rest. If we think back to the creation story, how did God create the world? It says in the first day he created this, and then the second day he created this, and then the third day he created this. And what did he do on the seventh day? He rested. Why did God rest on the seventh day? Because he worked so hard? No. God is God. He doesn't even have to work hard to create anything. He has infinite power. He doesn't need to rest. But what he's doing by resting is he's showing us that he is a God of rest. That we are meant to work 5-6 days of the week, but on the seventh, we're made to rest. Why? So that we can recognize that he is God and we are not. That he is God and other people are not. That he is God and social media is not. So, here are 4 signs that we are not resting. Number 1, no spiritual growth. We're not getting closer to Jesus at all. Our relationship with Jesus is not growing because we're not resting. Number 2, if we're always tired, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, it means that we're not resting. And number 3, we can't be still. If we always feel like we need to be doing something, we need to be entertained, we need to be connected, we need to be talking to people, we need to be scrolling through something, liking something, somebody needs to be liking something of ours. If we're not resting, we cannot sit still. And number 4, just the kind of the obvious Christianese version, number 4 is if we're not praying or reading our Bible, or if we find no time to do so, then we're not resting. And that's one of the biggest things that I hear from you guys, one of the biggest things that I hear from everybody in the world, I mean, my life included, is it's hard to find time to sit down and just read a chapter of the Bible. It's hard to find time to take like 15 minutes to just talk to God and pray and listen to him. But if we're not doing that, and it's so common to not do that, but if we're not doing that, then there's an obvious problem in our heart and our soul and our mind, and we're not resting. We need to be still and recognize that God is God and we are not. And so I want to give you guys just a few tips on how you guys can be free and rest from social media or just your phone in general. Number 1, use Do Not Disturb. Pretty much every phone has this, but use Do Not Disturb. Don't let those little pings, those little dings, or the notifications distract you or keep you constantly on. Use it. Take long breaks. I do this all the time. Every other week, I delete all social media off my phone. And I know what you might be thinking, how do you post this youth group Instagram account? I use apps that schedule them, so don't even use that. But take long breaks from social media in your phone. Shut your phone off for an entire day or even just an hour if you have to. It helps so much. But spend time in prayer and reading the Bible. And I know that sounds so churchy, like Justin, I came to youth group, I didn't want to hear just go home and pray, but that's what we need to do. We need to talk to God. We need to read about him and learn his heart. And the last one, go outside without your phone. Take a long walk, like down your neighborhood road, like through the woods, ride your horse, do what you want to do, but do it without your phone. And just enjoy what God has given us in this world to enjoy. But the biggest problem of why we are addicted to so many things like social media is because we don't recognize that God is God and nothing else is. Like I said, when God created the world, he created the world for us to understand that he is a God of rest. Right? And even Jesus understood this. In the book of Mark chapter 1, it says very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, he left the house, he went off to a solitary place, and he prayed. See, Jesus was one of the busiest people of all time. He was hated by a lot of people, he was loved by a lot of people, but all of those people wanted to talk to Jesus. because he was so interesting. They were hearing about his miracles and how he was claiming to be God and all of these things, that it was so interesting about Jesus that even if you didn't believe in who he said he was, you still wanted to see him. But what did Jesus make time to do? He made time very early in the morning to go off in solitary, alone, to pray. Because he understood that to know the Father, to know God, to grow in wisdom, and to just be healthier spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally, we have to take time to rest. So don't let social media, don't let your phone take over your life. Because so many of us, we say that we live in freedom. We say that we have freedom in Jesus, but we live like we're slaves to our phone. And it can be so unhealthy for us. So I challenge you guys to seek rest in some of the tips that I gave you. But seek rest. But don't just do it because it might be healthy for you. Don't just do it because it might make your day feel a little bit better. Understand that when we rest, we can grow spiritually. When we rest, we are creating space. We're creating time for us to know Jesus, to follow Jesus, to listen to God's voice in our lives. So many times I hear, I just can't grow spiritually. Like sometimes I read my Bible, I pray, but I just don't feel anything. Justin, can you help me? But it's like, are you taking time to sit down and recognize or listen for God's voice, or recognize, like, what's God doing in your life? See, God does so many things in our lives. He orchestrates so many things. He puts so many pieces together. He makes miracles happen in our lives almost on a daily basis. The fact that you woke up and you're breathing today is a miracle that you don't deserve. But we just think it's another day, and we wake up and we scroll through Instagram, we open up our Snapchats, and we just go about our day. But if we would just stop to listen to God's voice, to read our Bibles and read what he has for us to learn, to look around at our lives and look at, what has God blessed me with? What has God given me? What miracles? What things has God worked together? I'm here for a reason. I have a purpose. What is that purpose? God is behind it all. Take time to rest. Put down your phone. Stop comparing yourself to other people on social media. Be free by being still and recognizing that God is God.